Hi friends, welcome to Digital Tech by Vignesh Balaji. So in this video series we are going to see Solidity. The basic introduction of Solidity is a programming language for writing smart contracts. So this will be deployed to the network, and in this Solidity series we will be knowing from basic level of programming um, to a pro level of programming. So I'll be covering all these topics which is related to functions, structs, modifiers, everything, and types, and as well as advanced level of Solidity as well. So in this video, this is the first video of the Solidity series. So in this video we are going to see the layout of the Solidity file. So I will give a glimpse what I'm going to cover. So the first thing is like how we define a contract and versioning of a contract, how will you import a source file, like how will you import another Solidity, and we will be covering a basic introduction about the state variables, functions, function modifiers, events, struct types, and enum. So these are the topics that I'm going to cover as part of this video, and the next video will be detailed about the functions, like what are the function parameters, return types, everything will be covered in part of next video. So you can see more on functions and function modifiers in the next video. So I will give a basic introduction in this video about Solidity and the layout. So let's go to the remix and let's see like how you will start coding with Solidity. So as you already seen, there should be a version for any programming language, right? So the first line which comes with the Solidity is the pragma. So pragma is a keyword used to enable certain compilers or features. So suppose the one way to declare the pragma is that pragma, then followed by Solidity. So you have to more specific on the version, because some features may not be working in certain versions, so you have to be very specific with the versions. So this is how you actually define the Solidity version. So pragma is like which enables the which certain compiler features needs to be enabled, and you will define with the version. So there is another way of defining the pragma Solidity version also, that is Solidity. In between the two ranges, so it's something like greater than equal to 0.4.0 less than 0.7.0. So what are the versions features which is greater than 4 and less than 0.7.0 will be available as part of this. So these are the two ways you can actually define the Solidity version. So the next thing is after the next version. So you suppose if you want to import any other source file, suppose in this case I want to import the first storage.sol. So this is how you import it. So you have to check the relative path. So one underscore storage.sol. So you should be careful while typing the case sensitive file names. So this is how you define import and source file. So if you're going to import a source file from a package or something like OpenZeppelin or some other contracts, so you just want to import with that URL just like this. Suppose github.com/OpenZeppelin. So this is how you actually import a source files. So first we have seen pragma Solidity version, and second is importing the source files. So and the third part is like how will you define a contract. So we will define a contract by keyword called contract followed by the contract name. So in this case I have given a file name of my contract, so I am giving the same name. You are supposed to give the same name. So this is how you define the contract. So okay, so another thing in the Solidity is that the versioning is very important when it comes to Solidity, And we also seen how to write comments, so that will be more useful when it comes to readability. So this is the single line comment, as you see in most of the programming language. This is a single line comment. So and the multi-level comment is pretty much same which you see in JavaScript or some other languages. So this is how you make a multi-level comment, multi-line comment. So this is how you do it. So I will write some function and see how I'm documenting or commenting it out there. So first of all, I'll write a function. So as I said, I will be covering detail about functions in next video. So this is how you define a function with function name, and it will take a so rectangle. We're going to calculate the surface of the rectangle. So we are going to do like take both event width and height, so you should be of a public function. So public functions can be accessed by outside the other contracts also. So I'll be covering all these things detail in next video, where you can see more detail on functions. So I'm not going to write logic. So see how I'm going to write the comments here. So first you have to @dev. So you have to say what is the role of this particular function. So in this case we are going to calculate the perimeter on the surface. So let calculates the perimeter and surface of rectangle. So this is the detailed description about the function. So you have to do it like this, and then you have to make a comment for the parameters which are going inside and the return types. So for the param you have to mention like this: param which is w, so that is the width of the rectangle, and this one, the next param is like h, which is height, of the rectangle, and finally the return type, what is going to return. So we are going to return the surface and the perimeter. So you should make an annotation of return, which return the s, that is the surface of rectangle, and as well it returns as well as the perimeter. So perimeter of rectangle. So you can see the IntelliSense. You don't want to type everything over here. So this is how you basically give comments for a function inside the Solidity. So it will be very useful when you are documenting the program that you write, and it will be very useful for the developers as well to understand what you are actually doing for the particular function, and what are the parameters that take, and what are the return types that return. So this is how you do comment. And so next we will see the structure of the contract. So contracts in Solidity are similar to the classes in object-oriented languages, as you see. So each contract contains state variables, function modifier, events, struct types, and enum types. So these are the very basic building blocks of a Solidity contract. So first we will see as how to define a state variable. So event. So this is how you define a state variable. So state variables are variables whose values are permanently stored inside a contract. Okay, so I'm going to name this event as stored data. So this is how you define a state variable. So this will be stored permanently within the contract. So and this is how you actually, so the next thing we are going to learn the basics of the functions. So functions, as you said, it's an executable unit of codes within the contract, so which will take some parameters and which will return some values based on some business logic that we write inside a function. So function calls can happen internally, externally, and it has visibility like public, private, and it has like keywords such as pure, view, and return. So return makes sure like what type of data it's going to return, whether it's a event, whether it's an address or something. So this is basically how an function is written. So we will be covering detail about functions in next, and you will see a sample code as well. I'm going to compile that sample code and I'll show you for you guys. So this is a syntax for a function, and we are going to see modifiers. So function modifier is the next topic that we're going to cover. The function modifiers are just like a validator. So suppose a function should be executed by the person who deployed the contract. So whosoever deploying the contract becomes the owner. So in this case, so we can actually make the like whenever you are deploying some contracts, right, we can assign the owners to the particular contract. So I will write some syntax for the modifier, how you define syntax. So modifier, so I'm saying only owner can execute this function. If some other persons try to execute this function, it will say it will throw you an error. So then I'm going to make an assertion like message dot sender is equal to owner. Okay, so the next parameter is like it's a message that when you are trying, like if some error happens, what is the message that should be thrown. Only the owner can execute this function, can execute this function. So this is how you actually write a modifier. And this underscore is like a syntax for a modifier. So whenever this is like an check that you actually define inside a actually make this modifier as an usage to the function. Suppose if you're writing some function, so some function like cell. So in this function you are making the visibility as public and you are making this only owner. So whosoever the owner of this contract can execute this function. So this is how you actually define a modifier. So if you are not very comfortable with modifiers in this, so we will be covering detailedly in next video. So you can stay tuned for the next video. And events. No, the next thing I'm going to cover is events. Like so, events like events should be declared at the top level of the contract next to the constructor. So you can define an event like this. So event. So basically, I will give an idea what is an event. Event are just nothing but a logging, like where you enter logs inside into the network. So you can fetch the logs and you can see what is the track record of the particular contract. So this is how you define an event. So this should be a keyword event, and I'm going to name it as bid. So it's going to take two things. One is address of the bidder, and the amount that is going to bid. Okay, so this is how you define an event. So you can use this event inside any function. Suppose here, so inside the function cell, I'm going to emit this event. So this is how you emit an event. So we are going to emit an event bid, and what is the address? So address will be like message.sender and message.value. So whosoever executing this contract, they will have the address of the sender, and as well as they will be inputting some value. So this is how you define an event and emit inside a function. So you can emit in multiple functions, that is not restricted to one function like that. So you can do it for many functions wherever you want to emit. And the next thing that we are going to see is structs. So structs are like a user defined type, so where you can have multiple properties over that. So this is like custom defined data types. So I will define a struct for you, like so it should be have a keyword struct, and then it should have a name. Suppose in this case I'm making a voter, so I can have many things like address, so event, boolean. So these are the types that are available as part of the Solidity. So we can say whether it voted or not with boolean, so we can be true or false. So this is how you define a struct within the Solidity contract. The next thing that we are going to see is enums. So enums, you know, like it should be within those particular type. So enums can be used to create a custom type which has a finite set of custom values, constant values. So suppose you can define a enum by a keyword enum. So that will have a name called, for example, state. So state can be created, locked, or destroyed. So you can actually assign some variables, like in constructor function. Suppose you are going to use some constructor and you are going to assign some default value. Suppose in this case I have defined store data. So store data, I'm going to assign something called state.created. So whenever you deploy this contract, right, you will have a store data which has been created. So it means the contract has been created. So this is how you assign an enum to a particular event or something. So these are the basic layouts that are needed for a Solidity contract. So the next video we will see detail about functions and function modifiers. I will run you through a sample Solidity contract using these concepts. So please stay tuned, guys, and please do subscribe, like, or comment, and please share it to your friends who are interested in learning Solidity. So thanks for your time. See you next.